all so much for your patience. Also, hi, I'm DeAndre Jones. I'm the Executive Vice President for the Seattle Southside Chamber. I've been helping behind the scenes to make sure all the things are going on. And it is my honor to introduce Mayor McLeod and King County Executive Girmay Zahilay for our Fireside Chat. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I know you've had a long day and lots of interesting sessions. We're going to close out with more of a personal conversation about leadership, the heart of it, some of the character, the resilience, and the purpose, and the journey of becoming a leader. I'm fortunate enough to be here with King County Executive Grimy Zahilay. I want to give a quick landscape setting, and then we'll get right into some questions. So he is serving as the 7th elected King County Executive, leading one of the largest local governments in the U.S., serving more than 2.3 million residents. And as the first immigrant, first refugee, and first millennial to hold the office, Executive Zahilay has championed collaborative leadership and stronger communities. Welcome.
Thank you.
What I want to highlight for people is your family's from Ethiopia. You grew up in Skyway, went to Franklin High School, on to Stanford College, became an attorney, found your way on the King County Council, and then became the executive. It didn't sound that hard. But it has been. You've had lots of challenges, I'm sure, along the way. So I want to ask you, just writing some questions that we have. When you look back on your journey so far, what helped to shape your leadership style the most?
Oh, is this one not working? Is this one working? It is? Oh. You all can hear me all the way in the back? Raise your hand if you cannot hear me. I guess that doesn't make sense. Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing today? Good to see you all. Thank you so much for having us and allowing us to have this good conversation. I'm Girmay Zahilay, honored to be up here with Mayor Tom McLeod of Tukwila. I'm actually a resident of Tukwila, so this is my mayor. And because I represent all of King County, I am his executive. So we're each other's representatives up here. When I think back on my leadership style, I think I have an answer that probably most of you would answer as well, which I think it was developed very early on through my experiences as a kid. As I know Mayor McLeod hinted at it a little bit, but I am the child of refugees. We came to the U.S. when I was 3 years old, and we settled down in South Seattle, and I grew up in public housing like Rainier Vista and New Holly, back when it was still called Holly Park, and Skyway. I see people nodding, remembering all the old neighborhoods of Seattle. I grew up in a single-parent home. My mom had to work 3 different jobs to make ends meet as a nursing assistant, and I know nursing assistant sounds more so like a medical position, but it really is a physically intensive job where you're having to lift patients, move people around, clean up after people, and she worked most days 16 hours a day and some days up to 24 hours a day. And so that meant we would not see either parent for weeks and weeks on end. So from a very early age, I was put in a leadership position because I have 2 younger siblings, and so we would have to navigate our neighborhoods and just life in general on our own. So just very early on, being in a caretaker position for my siblings, I think catapulted me into having some leadership traits. Also because I watched my mom struggling in this economy, struggling to make ends meet, my compassion has really developed since I was a young person. I really feel it in my heart when I see people struggling, to make ends meet. I always want to shape policy based on what the people at the very bottom are experiencing. To me, that's what equity means, but it also is just one of my core guiding principles and the reason why I got into public office. I also think because we had to move a lot, that's a trait of just growing up poor. You don't really live in one place or have one single neighborhood. I lived in 13 different places across South Seattle in the Central District, and even went to like 5 different elementary schools, including in Portland and in Oakland, California as well. And so I think that shaped my ability to adapt, being able to just go into any environment, talk to anyone, build relationships with people, and I think that's a big part of it as well. So leadership from being an oldest sibling, compassion from watching my mom struggle with minimum wage jobs, adaptability from moving to a lot of different places. And so those are just a few things that I think were developed over time through my childhood experiences.
All right, and to this group here, what advice would you give to someone who is still trying to find their leadership identity?
I think I would say don't hide from what you know about yourself and what you know your gifts are. I think we have a society that really tries to make you fit into some predefined holes, where we grow up asking kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? What title do you want to chase when you grow up? Which kind of makes them feel like, oh, here are some slots that I have to fit my identity into, when in reality it should be look inward. Think about what are your gifts, what are the things you find interesting, what are the things that make you feel alive and excited when you're doing them, what are the things that you're doing day to day that don't even feel like you're doing anything or expending energy because it comes so naturally to you. I think the more that we do those kinds of things and nourish those traits, the more we'll come into our leadership styles. Because it's just not true what some people think of as leadership styles, that you have to be an extrovert or you have to be out front or you have to do this and that. That's not what leadership is. I think leadership is finding what your gift is and then finding a problem to solve with that gift. To me, when a gift finds a problem to solve, that's when you find purpose. And I want everybody to find their purpose based on those innate leadership skills.
That's really good. All right, I want to ask you, here's the question, but I'm going to phrase it another way. The question is, what do you know about leadership that you wish you understood earlier? But I want to frame it a different way. You are close to age 40? Almost.
Who's counting?
I want to know what current Girmay would say to 22-year-old Girmay in the way of advice.
Okay, so I'm going to give some advice that's real different than the advice I would give, because Tom and I were talking last week in preparation for this. And I was like, should I give like the usual advice I would give, or should I give some real advice?
We want real.
If I could really tell myself at 22 what I would want to do, I would say really think about financial security early on. And I say that because your costs at age 22 are not your costs at age 40 or beyond, or however old you are. Like once you have kids, oh my God, I can't even tell you guys right now. I got a pay bump from going from a council member to executive, but I'm much poorer now than I was as a council member because I have two kids now. And it is just, childcare is crazy, mortgages are crazy, everything is so expensive. And I do feel like if somebody at age 22 was like, if you just save a little bit every month and you invest a little bit and you go find some odd jobs to do on the weekends and stuff, that could really give you a foundation to have so much more freedom when you get to my big age. And so that's what I would really tell people is just, especially this advice is more relevant the younger you are, but if you can find ways to cut some costs and invest in ETFs or just general index funds that track the stock market, and just I know I'm getting a little out of scope here, but that's really the advice that I would give myself early on, is just really think about financial security early on. And okay, let me tie it back, because now I sound like I'm some corporate whatever, but if you do that, I think if you do that early on, it gives you freedom to pursue a lot of the interests that you would otherwise have. Because once these costs start rising, then you got to start thinking, do I want to take this job because of the money, or do I want to make these decisions because of financial security? And sometimes that means leaving aside your passions and your interests. So yeah, now I brought it all together, right?
Can you share a setback or challenge that changed how you lead?
Yeah, so I think for a long time in my life, I had success meant just achieving the next milestone in the natural progression of life, right? You graduate from elementary school so you can get into middle school, so you can get into high school. You do well in high school in the SAT so you can get into your top college. You do well in college so you can get into grad school. You do well in grad school so you can get that first job. So it's almost like success is this predefined staircase, and it's very easy to know how to be successful because it's already predefined for you. But then at some point in your life, that staircase goes away and the next milestone is not some predefined step. It's something that you have to define for yourself. You're kind of just at the top of the staircase staring out into the abyss, and some people can be really intimidated. I was intimidated by that because I think our education systems and society in general just shapes your mind around that kind of competitive, I have to get that next milestone, and that's how I achieve success. And then very quickly that goes away, and you're gonna have to define success for yourself. And you're gonna have to rewire your brain for success not to be some other person's metric, but what is your metric? What is the thing that makes you feel fulfilled? How do you define success? And that's a really challenging thing to do. So to give you a specific story around that, I had done that staircase thing where, got into a good college, got into a good law school, worked at the #1 law firm in New York, and then the #1 law firm in Seattle. And at the end of the day, I was like, I know at my core, like I told you all before, I want to do public service. I know how I grew up. I know there are people struggling out there. That's the thing that makes me feel alive. But I'm not doing that right now because I'm at a corporate law firm, which, I met a lot of great people and developed a lot of good skills, but that wasn't my end goal. And I just didn't know how to make the transition because there was no staircase anymore. And so what I did was I just took a leap of faith and I said, I'm going to quit this job with nothing lined up. And I left my law firm job. I was in New York, and then I moved back home to Seattle, and I was unemployed. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get my foot in the door and try to do public service somewhere. And I would go to all these meetings and stuff, and like 3 or 4 months went by, and I was like, damn, I'm not making any progress. So let me go back to my safety blanket and go back to another law firm. So I went to another law firm for a year, and then I was like, damn, I still haven't made progress. What's going on? So I quit my job again, and I was unemployed again. And just think about it. Went to all these good schools and worked at all these law firms, and now here I am sleeping on my mom's couch at age 30 with no job, and I'm like, what the hell did I just do with my life? So I was super just scared and not making the progress that I wanted. But what happened was that despite not having a title or not having a job, I was able to set up a situation where my costs were really low because I was sleeping on my mom's couch. Nobody tell that story outside of this room, by the way. And I just kept doing the stuff that I would do otherwise if I had a job, which is I started a nonprofit that was working with underserved youth at the middle school level and connecting them to mentorship opportunities. And I did a leadership development program called Leadership Tomorrow, which is really great. If any of you have heard of it, it's a great program. I see a couple people who have done it before here. And I just, after a year or so of doing this, which again, sleeping on my mom's couch unemployed, I ended up meeting somebody because of the nonprofit work that I was doing who said that her son was also a political consultant. And so I just happened to be in the right place. I had coffee with her son, and the rest is history. I found out about an opportunity to run for office, and I ended up running, and that was like 6 years ago. But all of that long story to say that I took a calculated leap of faith. I was super uncomfortable. I drove my costs down as much as I could to have that level of freedom that I needed. And I met with as many people as possible, built as many relationships as I could, and just did the thing that I wanted to do anyway without the title or the income at that point. And eventually it led me to being able to do what I love and get paid for it. And so I guess the advice that I would give is there is, to the extent that there is room in your life to take calculated risks and calculated leaps of faith that kind of get you out of your comfort zone and go all in on something that you're really interested in, that is off the beaten path, I would recommend that. And I say that knowing that people have costs, people have kids, people have all kinds of responsibilities. And so I'm not one of those speakers who comes up and says, just abandon everything and go for a nature walk or whatever. I'm saying do it in the way that is responsible for you and your circumstances. But if there is a way to do it and just say that I'm going to do the thing that I love and I'm going to do the thing that I'm passionate about, and there might not be a clear job title or clear, six-figure salary at this point, but I'm going to do that on the side until I achieve what my goal is. So just a little piece of advice.
During that time of transition, how did you deal with the fear? of the unknown?
Through just lots of depression and, and anxiety and all the natural things. You know, I say, I know when people give advice in hindsight, sometimes they put rose tinted glasses on and make it sound like it was all great and like you knew that what the answer was going to be. But I truly didn't. I knew the feeling that I had that I was not on the right track if I just kept doing the things that I was currently doing. But I am proud of myself in that I had the courage to take a leap of faith and bet on myself. And at the time, it felt like this is uncomfortable, this is new, this is embarrassing because we live in a society where you have to show your results on social media and show people what you're doing and all of that. So I kind of took a social media break and wasn't comparing myself to people. But it was very scary. But every day I would be rewarded by showing up to the middle schools that I was working in to provide mentorship and seeing the stories that the kids would tell about what mentorship was doing for their lives, or understanding what the circumstances are that they're coming from, and knowing that I could have an impact and that I could benefit. And there's another little Girmay out there who, just with a little bit extra support, could go on to go to college and achieve whatever they want to achieve. And so I was afraid, I was anxious, I was depressed, but I also was feeling rewards from doing what I love to do.
So staying in your purpose helped alleviate some fear.
Absolutely.
How about now when you're leading King County and have to make decisions and fear comes before you? How do you deal with it?
Yeah, it's a very challenging job. I know we have our former executive, Shannon Braddock, here who can speak to it as well, but this is just a scale of a job that probably the human brain wasn't really created for. I think we probably evolved to have like social camps of like 20, 30 people, or however much. Some evolutionary biologists here can speak to that more than I can. But representing an area of 2.3 million people, where even within King County, I know everybody thinks we're just like one shade of blue and everybody agrees on everything. That's not true. You can't. If I polled this room right here, we'd probably have wildly different views on various different top topics. And so holding all of those views together and making people feel heard and making the right decision, and understanding that my flaws and my childhood traumas and all of that now have broader consequences if I get the wrong answer. Yeah, it is a very challenging job, but I think what you do is rely on people that you trust. Understand that, yes, I'm the head of this organization, but we have countless leaders, 18,000 leaders who work at King County, who have great answers, who know what they're doing, who are experts in their field. And how do I bring out the light and the brilliance out of everybody that I work with? That's kind of how I think about these very challenging issues.
I think relationships and networking are key
Absolutely.
to success. So how do you stay grounded as a leader, and what recommendation would you give to people that are trying to lead and to stay grounded?
I think what you said, relationships, and one of my favorite quotes that I heard a long time ago is that trust moves at, or progress moves at the speed of trust, which is a great quote. And to me, I try to make it a little bit less abstract and say progress moves at the speed of relationships. So trust is built on relationships, and progress is built on relationships. But the more you can make people feel included and heard, the stronger the foundation of your decision is. But also, the more you're trying to make progress in your own career or in your own life, just know that relationships are key for that. Because at the end of the day, humans have developed all of these abstract terms to define various things like system or structure or organization or company or nonprofit. At the end of the day, all of those things are just human beings working together, making decisions. And so the more you can form relationships with those human beings, the more progress that you can make. And so one of the things that I've said when I speak at graduations, whether at the high school level or college level, is just have a coffee every single week with somebody who does something that you find interesting. And it doesn't even have to be like that person is going to get you something in that moment. That's one mistake that I know some young people make, is feeling like you can only have coffee with people who can give you something in that moment. No, just come in with an open mind of, I'm building a long-term relationship, and even if this person can't do something for me in this moment, that is a relationship where I can learn from, that I can trust, that I can maybe reach back out to a year or 2 years from now. Maybe that person knows an opportunity is coming up in the pipeline, and they can, think of me on their mind. That's how I've seen it most successful. I do get a lot of outreach from people who want to have coffee or just career advice and stuff. And one mistake that's made is they email me once, and that gets lost because I get 1,000 emails a day, and they don't follow up. So number one is like follow up. It's okay. You're never ever bothering somebody by following up twice, 3 times, 4 times. Of course, if it's to their personal phone, that's different. But if it's on LinkedIn or email, just keep following up. Assume the best intent. Assume this person did not get your message or didn't see it because they're too busy. Number 2 is not following up after that meeting has happened. Have that meeting, and then after that meeting, remember something memorable or some advice that they gave you, and follow up after the meeting to say thank you. And then a year later say, just thinking about you, I hope everything's been good with that thing that we talked about. So just letting you know that I am in the job market, or I am in the market for an opportunity, and please keep me in mind. When people do that kind of just nurturing and growing the relationship rather than a one-time transactional thing, I think they tend to achieve more success.
Okay. How can emerging leaders build confidence when they are in a room with more experienced decision makers? And how did you do it? You were young into politics, and there were much more senior people in the room. How did you navigate that, and how can you give some advice that would help them navigate that?
I think humility and genuine curiosity go a long way. If you're a young person who already knows a lot, knows everything, you probably don't want to display that too much, or it might come off, like hubris or something along those lines. So having that humility, having that curiosity, having that growth mindset, I think is really, really important. Like I mentioned, I'm from this area, but I went away for school and for work and all of that, and I came back in 2017. So I didn't have a long history in politics or organizing locally before I ran for office. But I think the way I was able to build trust very quickly to get into a very powerful position quickly is having that humility, having that open-mindedness to learn, to adapt, to show people that I'm listening and curious and not coming in to teach them something or to impose my way. But having that growth mindset and that humility is really important. I think also if you're in a room with key decision makers, I would think of ways to provide tangible value to them. And I don't mean that to say that you have to, things are transactional or you have to immediately provide value. But if you can use your skill set to add value to somebody who's super high up or super senior, I think that will be remembered. And you don't have to always be some super specialized, super skilled person to provide value. I would, if you meet a politician and you want to work on their campaign, you could just say, can I take photos for you at your events and help you with social media? Like everybody has that skill set, or most people have that skill set. That's a way that you could provide value. Or can I help you draft your emails? Or can I help peer review your talking points or help you shape your talking points? Can I help staff you at an event so that you have an extra person with you? Just any way that you can think of providing value. If you're able to do that, in addition to networking, I think that will help you stand out as well.
I would add to that listening is so important.
Totally.
And so if you could develop a strong skill, the ability to listen and allow people to feel heard, will increase your connection and allow you to accomplish more. Okay, we're going to come to a closing here. For someone early in their leadership journey, what is one thing they should start practicing now that will serve them later?
I'm trying not to be a broken record, so I'm trying to think of something different than listening and relationships and networking.
Well, as you're preparing your answer,
Yeah,
if I may
yeah,
ask you that
absolutely,
question,
please.
I look for leaders that know how to follow. I think that's really important to be able to have a skill that you could follow and to know how to serve people. And if that's something that you haven't been in the practice of doing, start serving people. And people will really feel valued and want to be connected with you.
That's such a good one. I thought of one. This is one that almost never happens in our society, and that is asking for feedback. I think asking for feedback is such a powerful tool. There are so many reasons why we as humans don't ask for feedback. It's because feedback is uncomfortable. Like you might hear something that you don't want, or something that you disagree with, or something that makes you feel small. But if young people that I work with came up and said, you know, how can I do better? What can I do to really make progress in these ways? I would have a lot of answers for them. And it's a two-way street, right? The reason why I don't think people automatically or proactively give feedback is probably for the same reasons that people don't ask for it, that it's uncomfortable to give feedback, or that you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But if there are people out there who are truly just, can I set up 30 minutes to just sit with you and hear your feedback on how I'm doing? I'm telling you, it almost never happens, but when it does, it really speaks to the growth mindset that somebody has, and that's really powerful.
I think great ideas could come from the most surprising places.
Yeah.
So be very open to that anyone and everyone at any time could give you a great idea. So be open to that.
Absolutely.
So we've heard today that leadership is not just about strategy, but also about courage, humility, resilience, and purpose. So as we open it up for a few audience questions, I invite you to think about your own leadership journey and what are you carrying into the next chapter. So I'm not sure how this part of it works, where we go to audience questions. We're not doing it? Oh. Thank you for all of your questions.
Why don't we just take one? Is there any single burning question out there before we?
Just stand up and yell it out.
If there is, we'll take it. If not, we'll move on. All right, there you go.
I would like to hear more. I mean, you have an incredible story, but I'd like to hear more about your personal connections and how they helped you, especially in those difficult times. Your family, your children, your parents, any personal friends. A little bit more about the village kind of that helped you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. What's your name?
Peter.
Peter. Thank you so much, Peter.
That was an example right there of connecting. You asked the question, and he wanted your name.
Thanks. Thank you, Tom McLeod. Tom McCleod of Tukwila. So I had mentioned before that I'm from this area. I grew up here since I was 3 years old, but I moved away for a long time and was only back for maybe a year before I ran for office. And I was able to do that and win my race in large part despite not having long political connections here, because I leaned on the village that raised me. You know, a lot of people will look at the communities that I come from and not really think of them as power players in our political environment here. We're talking about low-income people living in public housing, black and brown people, immigrants, refugees, people who are really marginalized from mainstream politics of this area. And so oftentimes people don't go talk to them, but because I grew up around this community, I was able to activate people. I was able to get people to get registered to vote. I was able to go to the community centers that I grew up in. I was able to go to the high school that I graduated from. I was able to go to my teachers from Bailey Gatzert Elementary to Mercer Middle School to Franklin High School, and my teachers even came together and threw a fundraiser for me all those years later. And so I really think that leaning on your village and leaning on the people that you grew up around is very powerful for so many reasons. Obviously, it will help you emotionally feel connected, but also it can help you make progress in your career or your pursuits as well. So that was one example. Thank you, Peter.
And I'll add that having a core group around you is critical to success, but you need somebody that will show you love, encourage you to have courage. At times will sit you down and ask you, what the hell are you thinking? That will be really straight up honest with you. And you need those type of people in your life. And as leaders, you're going to be successful. You're going to sometimes fall down. We all do. What's really important is that you get back up. And how do you walk after you fell? And you can do it.
Absolutely. And just to build on Tom's point and Peter's question, I'll say that don't treat your coworkers or your political connections as just that. there should be some relationship building beyond that surface level relationship for your own well-being. There are a few elected officials or politicos in this region who I don't just think of as political contacts. We have a group chat together and we talk about things that only we could relate to, and that helps me on a personal level. So these are not just my connections to help with fundraisers or whatever. These are people who I can relate to, who make me feel less isolated. And so if you see opportunities to really build relationships on a personal level with your coworkers or the people that you network with or whoever it might be, I think that's a really good for your just personal foundation.
So, Executive Zahilay, thank you so much for giving us
Tom.
a few minutes of your time and your wisdom. Can we give a round of applause to the executive?
Thank you so much. Without you, there would be significant barriers to access a program like this. The reason why I wanted to start this event 3 years ago was after speaking to so many community members wanting to gain access to information, to additional resources, and I was having the same conversation and hearing the same pain point and hearing the same barriers. I myself wanted to invest into my professional development as a geriatric millennial, and I was trying to find what was local, what was low cost, because I make nonprofit money, y'all. And what was going to give me the best ROI on my time? That wasn't going to be a curriculum that was going to take 2 years, 4 years, 8. So I took that fever dream, talked to Josh, talked to Raph, reached out to our friends at Comcast, Alaska, the port, and we started building together. Now there's one theme that keeps rising from all of today's conversation, and I hope you all caught that underlying belly. And that is that we are better and stronger together. I would like to take a moment with that to acknowledge my staff. From DeAndre, who joined us 90 days ago. You passed your probational period. Congratulations. Lena. Mario. Zach. Our ambassadors, if you're here, please stand. Our interns and our student liaisons, thank you so much for all of your hard work behind the scenes, making sure that today's experience for our attendees were seamless. And with that, I hope you all have an amazing weekend ahead. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us. Please stay connected with us. We don't want this to just be a one and done. This program will come back and you'll be able to connect with even more leaders in our region. Thank you so much.